Have you ever felt that you are too young or too old to do or to achieve something? I'm sure हम सब ने कभी ना कभी ये फील किया ही होगा. Now think about the time when you were 21 years old. What was your goal? आपका डेली रूटीन क्या था? मोस्टली सबका गोल होता है करियर पर फोकस करना एंड मोस्टली सबका टाइम स्पेंड होता है मूवीज़ में, फ्रेंड्स के साथ हैंग आउट करने में या फिर स्टडीज़ में. Now, what if I say a 21-year-old girl started a campaign throughout the country and she convinced the government as well as a lot of people to focus on mental health and suicide prevention? Yes, she was just 21-year-old and right now she is only 22 and she is an inspiration to all those जो सोसाइटी के लिए कुछ करना तो चाहते हैं बट उनको लगता है कि उनकी एज या एक अकेले इंसान से चेंज नहीं आ सकता. राशि ठाकरन, a mental health advocate, activist, a public speaker, and a suicide prevention instructor trainer. After losing her brother in 2019, Rashi started a campaign to raise awareness about suicide in India. She has somehow convinced the government to launch a public helpline. She always say, my brother took his own life and I want to ensure this doesn't happen to any sister ever again. Today, she is with us to talk about her journey. Hi Rashi, thank you
Hi.
for taking out your time for us.
Thank you so much for having me here.
So, सबसे पहले I want to know about this campaign of yours.
Okay, sure. So, this particular campaign that I think I'll be talking about, it started last year. And this was the first campaign actually that I ever did. I've never done a campaign in my life before, but last year I got selected for this. Actually, there's this fellowship called She Creates Change program with change.org, and with them I started a petition, and it was asking the government to launch a national helpline number for suicide prevention. So abhi tak we don't have a 24/7 helpline number in India. So मेरा जो petition था, it was for that, to make sure that we get a national helpline number, and it received an amazing response. मैंने बिल्कुल expect नहीं किया था, to be honest.
Okay.
But it received an amazing response. It received more than 3 lakh signatures, and it's still counting. It's an ongoing campaign. We also had talks and we also had meetings with the government. So even the government sort of, responded. And it also started, I think the best thing that happened with this was कि a conversation around mental health started. इससे पहले people would talk about, suicide or mental health and suicide prevention, but इतनी बातें नहीं होती थी. Like, we were not very, very aware. But I think with this campaign, that sort of started, that conversation started happening, and even like the media houses, they wanted to report it. Even on social media, it gained a lot of traction. So I think that was a very positive change that I saw, and I think that's what sort of propelled me कि इस field में मुझे अब कुछ करना है, and that's I think how my, you can say, advocacy or activism in terms of mental health and suicide prevention, that began.
Okay, all right. So, I would request you, I know it has been, a few months, I think almost more than a year, but to help our audience understand this in a much better way. So, how this all started? Can you please tell us a bit about that incident? I know it was a dark period for you, so.
Yes, of course. So, like I said, this campaign started last year, and that was because of a tragedy that I went through. 2019 January में, I lost my younger brother to suicide, and obviously it was very sudden and shocking, and none of us saw it coming. क्योंकि हमें idea ही नहीं था कि he's in so much pain या ऐसा कुछ हो जाएगा या ऐसा कुछ he's going through. We as a family were very close. We were very happy, but we had no idea. And this happened on 6th January 2019, and just 6 days prior to that, on New Year's Eve, सब लोग हमारी पूरी family, mom, dad, me and my brother, we were in Bombay for New Year's Eve, and there is this video of us dancing, and he's so happy, he's so joyful, and it's like you see that video and you won't even know that he's in so much pain, or he might do something like this just 6 days later. So देखा जाए तो it's like the thing that they don't have a face in terms of depression, in terms of suicidal people. They don't have a look. They can look like anyone and everyone, even dancing happy young men like my brother. So again, it was very shocking, and it was a dark period for us, क्योंकि हम लोग we were grieving, we were mourning, we were very lost. I don't even properly remember कि उस time पे कैसा feel हो रहा था and क्या हो रहा था. We were just in just a lot of trauma, and I think उसके बाद I myself struggled with my mental health, because I was very, very traumatized. So I couldn't sleep at night. I stopped sleeping. I would suffer from anxiety attacks, and this I got to know later. All this I got to know later कि what I was suffering from were panic attacks, they were anxiety attacks. ये सब मेरी डॉक्टर ने मुझे बाद में बताया कि this is what was happening to you. So उस time पे I just remember crying a lot. I remember I would not sleep at all. I would try to sleep, but I couldn't sleep, because if I would go to sleep, I would get nightmares. I would get flashbacks, of that day, and even the consequent days. So I would get all of those flashes, and it was just too much for me. So I stopped sleeping altogether. And I think after a couple of weeks, when it got too much for me, I went to my parents and I told them कि बस अब मुझसे और नहीं सहा जाएगा. I think I need help. I need to go to the doctor. So that's when they said yes, let's do this, and we decided to seek help. We went to the doctor, and thankfully I got a very good psychiatrist. She was amazing. She really helped me understand what was happening. She really helped me process the pain, and that's when I was diagnosed with anxiety, PTSD, and insomnia, and I was put on medicines. So I think medicines, along with therapy, as well as some lifestyle changes and just processing all that grief, sort of helped me cope. And then I think the biggest thing that happened after that was me starting this campaign and coming into this field and doing something for mental health and suicide prevention. So that was sort of finding purpose in my loss, finding some sort of a meaning in my loss, and I think that's that's helped me cope a lot.
Okay. So, Rashi, going through anxiety, insomnia, PTSD, just like you said कि आपको नहीं पता था कि you have anxiety, you have insomnia, your doctor, your psychiatrist told that to you. So, how do you manage, or how would you like to advise to others? Because if in our society, I can say कि anxiety, insomnia, PTSD, ये words अभी तक I believe इतना exist नहीं करते हैं. We all are even if someone is going through anxiety, they will पानी पी लो, शांत रहो, तुम बहुत ज़्यादा सोचते हो, इसलिए ऐसा हो रहा है, थोड़ा सोते नहीं हो, तुम्हारी unhealthy lifestyle है, इसलिए ऐसा होता है. So it's like we are still not ready to accept mental illness.
Yeah, very true.
So yes.
Yes, so no, I totally agree. And when your parents say कि अरे तुम ज़्यादा सोच रहे हो, lifestyle का problem है, एक बार अपनी lifestyle ठीक करो, ठीक हो जाएगा. That is correct in a way. I mean, partly yes. For me, even my doctor told me कि सिर्फ दवाइयों और therapy से तुम ठीक नहीं होगी. You have to work on your lifestyle. So that way, yes, I mean, I'm not saying that, okay, this is wrong, you shouldn't tell your kids ki lifestyle theek karo. Please, in fact, this is a very important advice that I give, and this is, I think, what helped me get better and get out of that sort of a pit, that, lifestyle plays a very important role. But at the same time, lifestyle is not the only, or you can say, a very holistic solution. We have to take into account if a person is having panic attacks, anxiety attacks, if they're not able to sleep for days and weeks, or for example, if you know that your mood is low constantly for a really long time for no reason at all, then there is something more to it. You're not just sad, you're more than sad. So it's prolonged sadness, and that's why it's important to seek help, to go to your doctor and understand कि reason है क्या and मेरे साथ हो क्या रहा है. So I think I would say yes, lifestyle change is something that I would advise कि definitely sleeping on time, waking up on time, having a balanced diet, exercising a lot. So these are all the things that my doctor told me, that if you don't do this, you will not get better. Medicines and therapy will not work unless you work on your lifestyle. So definitely work on your lifestyle, but at the same time, parents should understand that if the kid is suffering a lot, if they are, showing symptoms that, something is off, then it is important to go to the doctor. The doctor will advise you in terms of medicines, in terms of therapy, in terms of lifestyle changes, whatever is required, but leave it to the doctor. You don't become the doctor, And also, there is a lot of stigma when it comes to medicines. This is something that I've noticed.
Yes.
That people are still okay कि ठीक है, हम लोग therapy शायद try कर सकते हैं. उसमें भी stigma है, definitely है. But medicines तो मतलब they feel that if we have medicines, or if my child is having medicines, or if anyone is having medicines, वो तो पागल ही है, and they will get addicted. This is something my parents also didn't understand, to be honest, and that's why I think I love my psychiatrist so much, because she made them sit down and she made them understand that these medicines are not addictive at all. They are basically for my brain, because in my brain there are some chemicals which are not being produced, like serotonin, dopamine. These are not being produced, and these medicines will help in terms of producing those chemicals and making that a normal process. But these are definitely not addictive. So she explained the whole science behind it, and I think when parents understand the science behind it, when parents understand that just like you need medicines for, let's say, fever or some physical illness, you also need medicines for your brain sometimes.
Exactly.
So that it is something very natural, and it is something that can happen to anyone, and it's completely okay to take medicine. So I think that shame around medicines and that stigma around medicines, and also to some extent therapy, is something that we need to make sure that people know कि इसमें ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. It's completely normal. And that stigma needs to go.
Yes, I can understand that. So, Rashi, you just, talk about some symptoms, like parents should notice the symptoms. पहले से symptoms आते हैं, but parents or family choose to ignore it. So, what kind of symptoms we can talk about here?
In terms of what symptoms for depression or anxiety?
Let's talk about depression first.
So definitely, so there are a lot of different symptoms, to be honest. In depression, definitely, like I said, depression is prolonged sadness. So, for example, people a lot of times, this is also something that we need to acknowledge and talk about, that people tend to misuse the word depressed. And then they sometimes, when they're actually sad, they call themselves depressed. So, that's something that again is wrong, because, you're trivializing the illness. And when, for example, some movie you didn't like, or some movie that made you sad, and you say, oh, that movie was so depressing, but that's the wrong usage of the word. So sadness is something that, it's not prolonged. It's for a certain period of time, but after a couple of days you get over it, you get better, you're back to your normal self. That is sadness, so that's what sadness is. When it comes to depression is prolonged sadness, and a lot of times there is no external stimulus for it. For sadness, there is some external stimulus. For example, एग्जाम में मार्क्स अच्छे नहीं आए तो लोग सैड हो जाते हैं. हम सब हुए हैं सैड. Or you sort of you lose a match or something. So that's what makes you sad. But after a couple of days, you're back to your normal self. But when you're depressed, there is no external stimulus as such that you can pinpoint. You're just depressed and you're sad for a very long time, for days and weeks in fact, and you don't even know why you're sad and what's going on. And also you start losing interest in activities that you previously enjoyed. You also start feeling very hopeless. You get that feeling of worthlessness. You also, there's you can't concentrate. You sleep a lot, or you don't sleep at all. Sometimes there's, in terms of appetite, you eat a lot or you don't eat at all. So ये सब symptoms रहते हैं, and it's important to for people who are around, for people who live with you or they're close to you, they should look out for these signs. Any sort of change in that person's behavior, they're talking less to you, or they're not eating, or they're not sleeping, or they're sleeping too much or eating too much. All of these things is something, you will know that something is off, and you need to be able to talk to them. And I think in general also, even when there are not signs that you can directly see, you need to be present and just talk to them and just keep asking each other how they're doing. And these days we're very superficial, I feel, these days, Even when we say how are you, we don't really want to know how the person is.
Yes,
we're just like it's very superficial. And I think that's what I try to do with my friends also. I try to send them a message saying not how are you, but how are you really. And I think adding that really is something that is, they also understand okay, I can actually talk and I should talk about whatever is really bothering me. So I think changing those sort of conversations, not making them so superficial, going a little deeper, and making ourselves available, I think, is something we can all do to help that person. And you never know, people will start reaching out to you themselves only.
So, Rashi, you're doing it, since last few months, and you are working a lot behind this campaign. So, as per your, how much you are noticing the people you are meeting and everyone, you're giving the talks to different universities, different colleges, to different kind of people. So do you think ki abhi, maybe from your talk or maybe from the campaigns going on around on internet, on social media, on our TV media and everything, so do you think ki abhi logo ke upar kuch impact aa raha hai?
I think honestly I'm very positive about where we're headed in terms of mental health and talks surrounding mental health, because aajkal people are talking about it, and especially with the recent events also that happened, with a celebrity and all the talks that it led to. I think again, obviously that was a very, very tragic event, but after that we opened up more. I think people started talking about it a little more, and it gained the attention that it deserves. But at the same time, I think we still have a long way to go in terms of the stigma that is attached to it. Yes, we've come a long way, and the stigma is reducing, and I'm hopeful for the future. But still, there's a long way to go in terms of people opening up, and the parents understanding what's happening with their kids and all of these things. Because I still get a lot of messages from people telling me that people around me don't understand, I don't know what to do. So I think yes, definitely we're headed in the right direction, but I think we still have a really long way to go.
So, have you ever felt like giving up? Like ऐसा कुछ हुआ हो या ऐसा कभी फील होता हो कि नहीं अभी नहीं हो रहा है, आई डोंट थिंक कि इसका कुछ इम्पैक्ट पड़ेगा या ऐसा कुछ भी? बिकॉज मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम व्हाट हैपेंस इज कि नेगेटिविटी पॉजिटिविटी के ओवरकम कर लेती है, एंड इट्स लाइक ऐसा लगता है कि यार नहीं हो रहा है, इतनी मेहनत करने का भी क्या फायदा. सो हैव यू एवर गॉन थ्रू दिस?
I think definitely, I've had those days, and I think it's very normal to have those days also. कुछ दिन पे तो I'm like all powered up and I'm like, yo, आज तो I'll make a huge difference and ये वो, and you know, by the end of the day I'm just like, what am I even doing? So, but I think what I've learned here is that, you know, as long as you have that passion, not just passion, like you have that purpose, and I think with me that purpose is always alive. The fact that I want to work in this field, I want to just talk about it no matter what, even if, you know, in the future my campaign is not successful, if we don't get a helpline number, all of that is okay. But I think ever since I started this campaign in July 2019, ever since that, so much has happened. Things that I didn't even imagine, things that I didn't even foresee or expect कि होंगी. I had like a very basic plan कि अरे बस एक national helpline number आ जाए and मेरा काम खत्म types, okay? मेरा वैसा एक वो था कि okay, this is my मेरा एक objective था, I had a goal in mind कि okay, so national helpline number आ गई, my campaign will be successful, victory मैं declare करूँगी और खत्म. You know, but then I realized that there are so many other things in this field that also need to be talked about. Once I started that journey, all these things started coming up, and all these other campaigns started coming up, and I realized that, you know, people are in so much pain, not just in our country, around the world. People are in so much pain. And my journey with this will never end. This will be, after a point I just realized, you know, this is not just about a petition. This is not just about a helpline number, or, you know, it's not just about declaring a victory for my campaign. It's about so much more than that. It's about people who are, you know, losing their lives every day. They are in so much pain that they decide to end it, just like my brother did. And I think it's about every single Raghav out there, I would say, who needs that safe space, who needs someone, just one person who, you know, will listen to them. So I realized that the picture is so much bigger. And फिर ये सिर्फ campaign के बारे में नहीं था. This became so much bigger than that. It has now, I think, become my life. And I think that definitely there are negative days. There are days when I myself struggle with my own mental health. So, you know, there are days when I'm like कि यार मैं दूसरों को help करने चली हूँ, मैं खुद क्या कर रही हूँ, you know, मेरा हाल क्या है. But that's also when I realized that you don't have to fix yourself first to be able to help others. You can be on your journey of healing, and at the same time you can heal others. And what I realized is when you heal others, it sort of also heals you. So उस चीज के बारे में सोच के I've just, you know, that helps me get up every morning, I think. So it becomes a little easier.
Yeah, I can understand that now. So like you are just 22. So have you ever felt कि your age, you know, might be an factor to, because in our country, I think हमें हमेशा बचपन से बस वही सिखाया गया कि जो बड़े बोल दे तुम्हें वही मानना. You don't have to, you know, you are no one to teach them. So when you started that, you were just, I guess, 21, right? So at the age of 21, you were too young, and you were giving talks to people around the country in different cities. So आपको कभी ऐसा कुछ feel हुआ या किसी ने ऐसा कुछ बोला होगा कि you might have felt कि यार maybe I cannot do that in such a young age. I cannot make that impact.
Yeah, I think definitely. बोला तो नहीं है, but कभी कभी ऐसे feel हुआ है, like I'm in a room, I'm supposed to give a talk or something, and I'm in a room full of people who have like 10 years of experience, 20 years of experience in the field, okay? And they're all like well-renowned psychiatrists, psychologists, and motivational speakers and whatnot, okay? And I'm just like 20, 21, and I'm in that room and I'm like, I just think to myself, and no one else would say this to me. I would say this to myself. I think I'm my biggest critique that way. I'll be like, मैं यहाँ पे क्या कर रही हूँ? You know, why am I even here? And why would they even want to listen to me? What do I have? You know, I think this is the first thought that I had the first time I gave a talk in front of like a big audience with like so many well-known people. And I was like, why would they even want to listen? So I was so very sure that 5 minutes into the speech, everyone will just either walk out or they'll just get bored or they won't want to listen. But I think when I started speaking and then the response that I got from the audience, and I think the response that I got from more than anyone else, the people who were my fellow speakers who were with me, and they came to me later and they told me, you know, we were literally in tears, we were crying, and, you know, we're so honored to have, you know, shared the stage with you. And I was like, oh my God, they're saying this to me. This is huge. So I think that's when I realized that it's not about your age. I think it's about your experiences. It's about your story. It's about what it is that you have set out to do, your purpose. And when that purpose is clear, when that thing resonates with others, it doesn't matter. People will listen to you. And if you have something important to say, I would suggest you just go ahead and say. Don't think about what this person will say or what that person will say. It's something that I learned, I think, on the job, you can say. Just being able to be on a stage and talk about something that matters, something that needs attention is something that is what keeps me going. So yeah, definitely pehle it was there ki arey, I'm so young and what do I have to offer? But I think now I'm learning with every single experience and every single talk that I give or a seminar that I take. So it's yeah, I think people are starting to take me seriously, which feels very nice.
So, in this entire journey of your campaign, how difficult it was to convince the government or to convince the Niti Aayog?
Yes, I think I can't take all the credit for that. I wasn't even physically present there during the meeting. A huge chunk of the credit goes to the change team who were working with me, who are still working with me. So they went as representatives and I was on a video call. So I think we together talked to them, we explained the campaign to them, and also like a major shout out here to the people of PT Aayog as well, because they were very receptive. We did not expect, sometimes we feel, I think most of us feel this way, that the government officials, why would they listen to us? They have so much more to do and, you know, they're just there for the sake of it. But that wasn't the case. These people actually wanted to be there. They wanted to help. And the response that they gave was so positive and so inspiring and motivating. They said that yes, we'll do it. Although I really want to like have another meeting with them. I think it's a long way to go in terms of, you know, getting this done on ground, because yes, on paper and on let's say when we talked about it, yes, it's like something we want to do, but on ground it hasn't been implemented yet. So definitely catching hold of them again would be a little tough, but we'll try to get another meeting, and we really feel positive in terms of where this is headed. And I think I'm hoping that once things are better, once we can travel to Delhi, once we can set up a meeting, we'll be able to take this forward.
Okay, so thank you so much for all this discussion. You're such an amazing, such an inspirational person. And I really
God.
seriously, I really loved each minute of this discussion, believe me.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this as well. This is such a fun and real conversation. So I really enjoyed it.
Same here, Rashi. Thank you so much for taking out time for us.
Thank you so much for reaching out and helping me become a part of this journey. It's been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, take care.
Take care.